Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome to Women's View on Ahlulbayt TV, a live show discussing Islam through the viewpoint of women, using hadith, Quranic verses, history, and other social aspects. I'm your host, Zahra Al-Alawi, and today with me is Sister Raihana Mawjee. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Before we begin the topic today, I just want to remind you all that this is a live call-in show. So if you would like to call in with your views or opinions, then you can call in with the number at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, you can email us at womensview@ahlulbayt.tv. That's womensview@ahlulbayt.tv. Inshallah, I'll receive your email in today's show and read it out during the show. Now also, if we get messages from people around the world, we'll be showing them at the bottom of the screen, so the viewers at home can read the messages in and out the show, inshallah, to see what people around the world have to say about today's topic. Now, today's topic is positive thinking in the light of Islam. Now, as we all know that, having a positive thinking, positive attitude, and to be optimistic is the root of all benefits in life, as it benefits everyone else. So if you're sitting at home thinking you have an issue or a question regarding positive thinking, what do you think about positive thinking? Is it always good to think positively, or or do you think otherwise? If you have a question, then please do call in. We would love to hear from you. Now, going to today's topic. First of all, thank you for coming today. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Today I wanted to ask you, first of all, is positive thinking, and it's always great to think positively, and philosophers have always said to think positively, and when someone goes through a problem, everyone tells them, think positive, think positive. But first of all, what is positive thinking?
It's a very, very broad subject. But if we look at it, positive thinking actually consists of making the best out of whichever situation is given to us in life. It's a mental attitude that actually plays a part in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions, in the way we are in the day-to-day life, and that's actually useful for our success. So it's very important to remember when we have any negative things that happen in our life, which happen on a day-to-day basis, we have any setbacks in our life, there's always a ray of hope at the end of it. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And looking for that light at the end of the tunnel, that's where that streak of positive thinking comes in. As we know, there's no problem without a solution to it, and there's no illness without a cure. The idea is just to find it. But we as human beings, we have all these problems, and suddenly a problem comes to us and we think, oh no, what am I going to do? And we just stop. That's negative thinking. But to suddenly think of, there will be some ray of hope at the end of it, let me find the solution, that's actually where this positive thinking comes in. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah 12, Ayah 87, and despair not of Allah's mercy, surely none despairs of Allah's mercy except the unbelieving people. So Allah's telling us, for us to be the believers, whatever Allah has given us, we need to accept it, understand it, and try and find a solution for it. So that's basically, in a nutshell, positive thinking, how I would explain it.
Definitely true. When someone's going through all these problems, they think, oh my God, there's no way this can, turn out to be okay. But like you said, through every dark tunnel, there is a positive light towards the end. But, going through all this, people may think, how do we think positively? It's really hard to think positively, especially if you're going through such a huge problem. So, do you have any practical tips or practical ways in order to think positively?
Definitely. In order for us to be positive, it's very important for us to be self-referral rather than object referral. And what I mean by this is, if we look at the term happiness, we're very object referral when we're looking for happiness. We look at things around us to make us happy. We think, if I buy myself a new car, inshallah, I'm going to be happy. And we buy a car and suddenly we think, oh, wait, now if I buy this, maybe it'll make me more happier. And we carry on buying these things and realize that we're getting all these things, but that real happiness is not there. And this happiness can only be coming from within, when our soul is content, when our soul is at peace. And so our happiness needs to be self-referral rather than object referral. So this is the first thing we need to remember. For positive thinking, it's very important to remember it's stuff to do with the self. It's nothing to do with our surroundings. It's what we need to think of ourselves. So practical ways, I would say, number one would be to look at the world with love. Now, that doesn't mean go and fall in love with everything you see. But what I mean by this is see the good in everything. We're so quick to find faults in people. When we meet someone, suddenly we just look at them and all these faults come through. This is what they're doing wrong, this is what they're saying wrong, this is what they're wearing wrong. We're not giving them a chance to actually see what are their true potential, what's the good things about them. it's very important to give them this chance and for us to look for the good in everything, because suddenly you'll start seeing the good within every single thing you see, within people, within objects, situations. It'll become natural to you in thinking this way. So it's really important to recognize the goodness. And we need to remember one thing, that when we point a finger at someone to tell them their faults, there's actually 3 fingers pointing back at ourselves. So these are the 3 things that we need to remember. Find the faults within yourself, but find the goodness in other people. That's number 1. Number 2 would be, do not be judgmental. Now, we'd all say, no, I don't judge people. But as the saying goes, never judge a book by its cover. And this is really, really true, because when we meet people sometimes, we just suddenly jump to conclusions of what they're like and what they do and what they say. But we've never given them a chance to actually shine through and show us really, what they are. And this gives us a chance to understand our own akhlaq as well. Because if someone walked through the door and in my head was thinking, oh my God, what is she wearing? What is she doing? It shows that my akhlaq is not really where it should be, whereas I should be accepting people, the way they are. So it's really important not to judge and to give them some time to actually show them to yourself what they really are. And as the famous hadith goes, that, give a Muslim brother or sister 70 reasons before doubting them. So even if we see one of our Muslim brothers or sisters doing something, against Islam, we shouldn't jump to judge them. We should give them a chance and give 70 reasons. And this 70 is used because I'm sure we can't even think of 10 reasons that we can give them.
That's
so,
true.
Moral of the story, basically, don't doubt and don't judge. So that would be number 2. Number 3, I'd say, is meditate every day. Now, that's not exactly how you'd see in yoga, when they sit in a position to do yoga. That is a brilliant way of doing it. But meditation really means silencing your mind. I've read somewhere where there's 50,000 thoughts running through our head in a day. Now imagine all those worldly thoughts just going through what I need to do, what I need to wear, what I need to get, in my day. We don't actually have time to just stop and think. And if we suddenly just shut down for a little while to try and think what we are thinking, it really gives us a chance to connect to ourselves. And then again, it helps us to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as we know the famous hadith, it says, Man arafa nafsa faqad arafa rabba. So when you know your nafs, that is when you actually know your Rabb. So we actually need to meditate for a little while to think of our thoughts and retrospect every night, even for a little while, or some people find it easier straight after salah or just before salah, to think of what are my thoughts? Are my thoughts positive? Are they useful? Are they actually having an impact on my life? Or are they just useless everyday thoughts that are just making me run through life? So it's very important, because ultimately these thoughts are what are going to determine, your actions, what your actions are going to be.
True.
And this therefore forms your habits and finally forms your destiny. So these thoughts are very, very important, because if you can control your thoughts, you can control your life because of the way you think. So that's number 3 that I would say is very important. Number 4, I'd say, is give what you want lovingly. So don't give grudgingly. When you give something, when you give a gift, whatever you give, even if it's charity, give it, in the name of Allah, and give it lovingly. Because whatever you want, you will get it back. As we know, whatever you sow, you will reap. So whatever, it's like a boomerang effect in this world. You give out goodness, you will get goodness back. So again, for charity, it's very important to give the charity and do it quickly before shaitan gets you into your head and, messes up your intention. And again, time in this day and age is very important. MashaAllah, all of you are doing for the Ahlulbayt channel, you're giving so much time for the words of the Ahlulbayt. But you ask people, can we have some of your time? Can you help us? Everyone's a bit busy in their own lives, understandable. But we need to know, if we want time back, and we want Allah to bless us with time, we need to really be able to give this time away. And it will come back to us, inshallah. Number 5, the last of the practical things, is learn how to understand people, and at the same time, don't expect anything from anyone. This is really, really important, because when we do a good deed, we always expect, why haven't they said thank you to me? Or they actually haven't even recognized that I've done something for them. Like even me, if I was driving and I give someone way, I'd expect, a thank you. But if they don't, you think, that wasn't very nice. We need to understand that the true thanks that we should be hoping for is from Allah. So all of our thoughts and our actions that we're doing in the name of Allah should be all qurbatan ilallah, for nobody else. And to remember to give thanks for everything that's happened, as Allah says to us in Surah 2, Ayah 152, therefore remember me and I will remember you, and be thankful to me and do not be ungrateful to me. So again, Allah is telling us, I'm blessing you with so much in your day. I'm giving you a new day, I'm giving you oxygen, I'm giving you so much. But do we actually sit there and actually thank Allah?
That's true. Not many people do that.
Definitely. So these 5 practical tips, would be really, really important if we want to instill some positive thinking into our life and try and make our life a bit more positive, I'd say.
That's true. There's so many practical tips that you mentioned there, and like when we find that even when we read the Western books and the textbooks about the positive thinking and the practical tips, you find that many of them are the tips that you mentioned, and then it's how beautifully how they link to Islam, because the religion of Islam teach us all these aspects. And then when we look at the Western world and their books and the philosophers, well, the philosophers say, you find that it's exactly the same thing. And especially gratitude. I really believe in gratitude, because I feel like when you're grateful for what you have, you don't think negatively, because everything you get and everything you have is a good aspect.
Exactly. Definitely.
Which is a thingy. But that reminds me, even in Allah says in I think it's Surah 12, verse number 7, he goes, be grateful and I'll give you more and more.
Definitely.
So it's so beautiful that Allah says, be grateful and I'll give you more and more. We're actually getting quite a few emails through already.
Okay.
But let me mention one already, because we had emails, a few people emailed before, so we will read out your emails. But this sister said, it's Sister Zainab from London. She says, Salam, how are we able to remain positive with our thoughts when our du'as are not accepted? And many people say this, unfortunately, that, when their du'as are not accepted, they say, we're praying, and our du'as are not accepted, so how can we remain positive? How would you answer that?
We need to remember that to every question, there's always 2 answers. There's either a yes or a no, but they're both answers in the right way. So we need to understand that if we were to ask for a dua and we say Allah doesn't answer them, that wouldn't be the right term to use, because Allah has either answered them with a yes and has actually blessed us with that dua, that whatever we've asked for, or He said no, because there's a reason for that to happen. We need to understand that when we ask for a dua, all we see is me, myself, my home, my world. This is me. This is what I want. This is what I want now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees a lot more from where He is. It's a bird's eye view that He can see over everyone. He knows when exactly the right time is for Him to give us something. If we see the famous example of the knife, a child would suddenly run to pick up a knife because of how shiny it is. It's something they'd want to play with. But the mother would suddenly run and take this knife away from them. It's not because the mother doesn't love them and doesn't want to give it to them. She knows this is not right for the child at this age. It's going to cause them harm. And this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who loves us so much more than our parents, who are closer to us than our jugular vein. And if He doesn't give us something, we need to understand why. This is the same mother that's going to give the child this knife when they grow up and say, go into the kitchen and do the cooking. But it needs to be at the right time. So we need to understand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us what is right for us when it's the right time. But it's a test for us. Do we keep praying? Do we keep asking? Or do we suddenly stop and say, you know what, we're not getting it, so I'm going to stop?
Definitely.
And the best way to test this, that it's actually working, think of the du'as you used to ask 10 years ago. Whatever you used to ask for. And see, alhamdulillah, within the 10 years, you would have got those things. Wherever they've come in, but they've come in. So we just need to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows a lot more from up there than we do. So it's not a chance of despairing. It's a way of saying, I will get this thing when it's good for me, if it's good for me.
Definitely true, yeah. I mean, that's the whole issue. I mean, this has come a lot, even with the discussion about the existence of God. People said, how can He exist if our du'as are not getting accepted, if this doesn't happen? Sometimes they even judge that. And I think you answered it beautifully as well. But at the same time, I believe that it's like Allah has said in the Quran that, sometimes you want something and you think it's good for you, but it's bad for you. And He goes that you want, and He goes, but Allah knows what's good for you and what's not. So at the same time, that there's also in Islam we find that they say that sometimes in the hereafter, when you go to the hereafter, you'll look at the du'as that you asked for, and when you see them, you'll be so proud that they didn't happen, because you would have seen what would have happened if your du'as did get accepted. So at the same time, I think it's like having faith in God and believing that God knows what's good for us and what's not. So sometimes we want something and then we don't get it, but in the long run, it's the best bet for us. Definitely true. We're actually getting many emails come through. Shall I ask one more?
Yep,
and then
no problem.
let's ask one more, then we'll go to more, and then we'll ask the rest later. Assalamu alaikum, sisters, and to all that are watching. Wa alaikum assalam. First of all, I wanted to thank you for a blissful program. I have a question. How can a person have continuous positive thinking during these times of racism? This would be very helpful to our viewers who face this obstacle very often these days in today's world. Thank you kindly. Fi ma'anallah wa alaikum assalam. Okay, wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for emailing in. But we have some more emails. We'll read them later. But like you said, there's people, there's a time of racism. People get attacked, and for all different reasons, both verbally and other aspects as well. So how can someone think positively during these times?
We need to understand that everything that happens for a reason. It doesn't just accidentally happen. We actually need to remember that Allah gives us trials and gives everyone trials in completely different ways. Some people might be tested with their health, some people might be tested with their faith, some people might be tested with their race, as the sister's asking. We need to understand that it's important for us in order to show Islam as something positive. And if we take this thing of racism onto us and suddenly hide behind a shell and say, you know what, I'm not going to come out of here because this is what they're firing Islam, and I'm not going to come out and say anything. We need to promote Islam rather than promote it in a positive way. And this can only be done with our akhlaq. When someone actually comes, and if they were to attack us, try and explain to them, whether it's verbally, and trying to show them the right way that we're not anything different to you. Everyone's been given certain ways that they've been born, or certain religions that they follow. There's nothing different about anyone. Alhamdulillah, the religion of Islam shows so much logic that if people were to actually read and understand, they'd see the positive side of it. But the negative media right now really doesn't allow all of that. They promote Islam to be very, very negative right now. So it's really important for us to remember that, for us to show through our akhlaq and to be positive in a way that even if somebody was to come and attack us, we don't retaliate back. Instead, we show them the right way, however that may be, depending on different circumstances.
Definitely true. Even the prophets used to get attacked in the street, and they used to get stones thrown at them. They used to get really rude comments. But then their attitude, they had such a positive attitude, outward attitude, that kind of overcame everything. And it shows the person attacking you. So even if someone attacks, the way you react is what will the outcome of the situation is.
Definitely.
But yeah, I just want to mention in the Quran it says even we've created you from males and females and tribes and cultures so that you may get to know one another. So Islam is against racism as well. But we have so much emails, and we have actually callers on the line. So let's go to answer the callers call, and then we'll go back to our discussion. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam, sister. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. The question I would like to ask is, some individuals go through a series of hardships, and what happens is they see themselves as a whole, and everything that they do, they see themselves as negative. How would the sister advise to this? Every step the individuals take, they see themselves as a huge fault and negativeness. So there's no positive in the way that they think. And I'd like to know what the sister would advise to that.
So like when someone goes through problems in their lives and tribulations, they always think negatively during these hardships? Is that?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so
and they see themselves as a major fault, like there's something wrong with them, and they don't see anything positive out of it.
Okay.
So, what would the advice for this be?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Inshallah, we'll answer it now. Thank you very much, sister, for calling in. So first of all, we'd like to thank the sister for calling in. If anyone else at home has any question, then pick up the phone. We would love to hear from you. Or even if you have a comment or a contribution to today's show, then we would love to hear from you. Now, the sister said, so many people go through problems in their lives. They go through major problems and tribulations and hardships. And during these times, they're probably thinking there's no positive out of this. I cannot get a positive out of this situation. And many people think, why me? So the sister said, how can someone think positively even in those hardships and hard situations? And, so how would you answer that?
Okay, this was coming later, but inshallah I'll bring it in now and answer the sister's question. We all need to understand and remember that the journey of life is very long. And these trials and tests and obstacles from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come to us. But we need to know it's just a bend in the road. It's not the end of our road. So if we were driving, we know when a bend comes, you need to overcome the obstacle. Now, sometimes it's very difficult to see past that bend, to think, will there actually be a positive side to that? But to find that positive side, that's where tawakkul ala Allah comes in, to have faith in Allah, that He's giving me this, but He's also given me the capacity to be able to deal with it. So these trials actually keep us strong. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us with these certain circumstances in our life to try and gain our full potential and to make us reach that highest being that He wants us to be. So I'm going to use an example here. If I was going to run a marathon tomorrow, I wouldn't suddenly be in the house today and then, go and run a marathon tomorrow. It's going to be something that I'd work towards, I'd give myself strenuous exercise, I'd go on a diet, I'd do certain things that I need to get ready in order for me to go and run that marathon and win that race. In the same way, if we want to win with Allah, which Allah wants us to get to that highest being, He gives us these trials in life, He pushes us, He gives us as much as He can for us to be able to come through a stronger person. But like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, which is Surah 4, Ayah 19, you may dislike something, but Allah brings a great deal of blessing through it. So who knows, some people, as I said before, can be tested with their faith, some with their health, some with their family, or we can see in Pakistan, some of them losing their homes and, their whole lives have been destroyed. But again, this test is to see how strong are you in actually believing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a better plan for you, has something else in store for you. So we need to see that, we need to trust our Creator, because He knows what's best for His creation. And again, a story comes into mind here before we move on. It's something I teach the younger ones in the Saturday school. We were talking about a story about the teacup maker. And he picked up this lump of clay, and he puts this lump of clay into the water and starts washing it. And this lump of clay starts complaining, saying, I was fine the way I am, what are you doing to me? And, the teacup maker says, wait, this is what needs to be done. Then this suddenly, they put this lump of clay onto a pottery machine, and they start winding and winding and winding to make something of this clay. And this clay is shouting out, I'm feeling dizzy, I'm going to fall, can you leave me alone? And the teacup maker says, you know what, I'm still going to continue because there's something I need to do. And it continues doing it. Then this piece of clay is then put into the oven, and this piece of clay is complaining that I'm boiling, I'm sweating, I'm in a sauna, I'm going to die, can you take me out? So the teacup maker says, wait, you're still not ready. Then he takes him out, he lets him to dry, and then the teacup maker starts painting this teacup, this lump of clay. And this lump of clay starts shouting, saying, these toxins in this paint are going to kill me. And they say, wait, this still needs to be done. Finally, it gets varnished and it gets left onto the windowsill to dry. And the teacup says, finally, I can breathe now, they can leave me alone. And the teacup maker says, let me explain to you. And he took a mirror and showed the lump of clay what it looks like now. And this lump of clay was amazed, saying, I started off as a lump of clay. I look amazing. I look like a beautiful teacup and everyone is coming to look at me. And the teacup maker says, you were comfortable in your comfort zone, but I know what your full potential was. This is your full potential. But I had to put you through all those stages for you to be able to reach here. In the same way, exactly this ties in perfectly that, we need to have this faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's our creator and He wouldn't do anything wrong for His creation.
That's true, yeah.
And again, another ayah of Quran that comes in Surah 2, Surah Baqarah, ayah 286. Allah does not impose upon any soul a duty but to the extent of its ability. So we need to know that He will not give us anything more than He thinks we can handle as a person.
True, yeah.
So if our trial is really high and we're finding ourselves at fault all the time and there's no positive light coming through it, we need to think, wow, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah thinks that I can do so much. He's giving me such a hard trial, but He really thinks I can conquer this. So instead of asking Allah, why me? Why have you chosen me? Turn around and say, Allah, try me. Let me show you what I can do.
Definitely true, beautiful answer. But at the same time as well, I feel like people think, oh my God, I can't handle this, it's too much. But what puts me through, because everyone goes through problems, everyone goes through bad points. I mean, I think first of all to realise that everyone goes through a test, and everyone goes through hard obstacles in their life, not just you or as a person. But at the same time, I think when I think of in Surah 7 verse number 42, everyone's heard of this ayah which says that Allah doesn't burden a soul with more than it can handle. And it's a beautiful ayah, and when I think of that, I say I can get through this. Whatever Allah puts on me, I can get through it, and what doesn't kill someone would only make them stronger.
Definitely.
So after this hard trials, this problems and obstacles, I guess someone will come out of it even as a stronger person. But we're going off for a break, but we have callers on the line, so let me just get one more caller and then we'll answer it after the break, inshallah. Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam, sister, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, I've heard that color therapy can sort of, help in positive thinking. I just wanted to know what Sister Raihana's views are on that, and if there are particular colours that are especially for positive thinking.
That's great. great. What was that again? Sorry, I didn't hear the first. What
I
favorite?
heard that different colours implement on the way you think in life.
Colours. Okay. Yeah.
So are there any particular colours which can help positive thinking?
Okay, perfect question. Nice question as well. Thank you very much, sister.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we need to go for a break, so we'll answer that question after the break, inshallah. So you're watching Women's View on Ahlulbayt TV on the topic of positive thinking within Islam. So we're just going off for a short break, so do join us after the break, inshallah. We'll be speaking more about positive thinking. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.